Hello students. Here is a short video, a screen capture video to help further explain the requirements and steps to complete this coloring page assignment. So please take a look at an example of a finished assignment, and this is what you're required to turn in: an Illustrator file with these three layers. A layer that contains outlines, fills, and your original coloring page graphic. When we separate these layers, this is what they look like individually. So one layer that contains your original bitmap coloring page graphic, another layer where you have outlined all of the lines in that graphic, and another layer where you've filled in all of those outline shapes and were able to color them individually. So this is what I'm looking for you to turn in your Illustrator file that contains these three layers: the coloring page, outlines, and fills. Okay, so when I jump over here, this shows that I have, for step one, I have placed my coloring book graphic onto my Illustrator file, which is 8.5 by 11 file, placed into the first layer. I can make changes to this layer by double clicking on it, and it helps if I dim this image to 50% so I can more easily see what I'm trying to trace. I can double click on the name and change the name of the layer here if I want to. It helps to lock this layer so I don't accidentally click on it when I'm trying to trace my lines. So this is where I begin tracing these shapes with the pen tool on its own layer. I create a new layer by clicking on the new layer icon in this palette, in the Layers palette. This is where you find all of the palettes available to you. Make sure you have the Layers palette visible and make a new layer. Layer 2. I'm going to change the name and call this Outlines. This is where I use the pen tool with no fill. Look down here at the color swatches, no fill, and I like to pick an unusual color so that I can see what I'm drawing. I pick a pink color. I can adjust the stroke weight. I'm going to make it a little thicker, and then I'm going to begin tracing these shapes, all outline, no fill. And an example like this of geometric shapes is fairly easy because there's no curves and there's not a lot of overlapping lines. It can be fairly time-consuming, but it's good practice with the pen tool to learn how to create these basic shapes with your lines and pen tool. I can continue to use the pen tool on every shape. But I can also use other shape making tools like the rectangle tool to draw that line. I will also need to draw this line and this line, and I'm going to go back to the pen tool and continue to trace all of these shapes. When I'm done doing that, I will have an outlines layer. Sorry. I'll have an outlines layer that looks something like this. Every shape has been outlined based on the coloring page. When I'm confident that I have every line, I'm going to duplicate this layer. I need to make the next layer for my fills layer for creating the fills of all the shapes. I'm going to do that by dragging this layer onto this icon. I'm going to click it and drag it down, and it has copied that layer. I want to change the name of it to fills. I'm going to lock this one so I'm not accidentally drawing on the outlines layer. I'm in fills. So the first thing to do in order to turn these outlines into fills is select everything on the page. There's a couple different ways to do that. I can drag with my cursor and select everything. I can do select all, or using the keyboard commands I can simply say Command A and select all. And when we look at our little palette icon and like swapping the fill and stroke, so it went from being all outlines to all fills. Now this pink fill color is a little obnoxious to me. I'm going to change the color into light gray so it's not so bright. So look at all these fills selected. The next step is to break apart any shape that's in there so that we can directly select everything and colorize it next. So all filled in, all selected. You get the Pathfinder tool, which is also findable in Window. Make sure the Pathfinder. And this is the Pathfinder tool that divides all of these shapes up. So we click Divide. Then we go to Object, Ungroup. So now we have a fills layer that every shape is available and selectable inside of here. And I know it's hard to see because they're all the same color. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. I copied the outlines layer, I changed the name to fills, I selected everything, and I swapped the stroke for the fill. So now everything is filled in pink. I choose to change the color to gray. Pathfinder, divide, object, ungroup. So we can reorder layers. Outlines needs to go on top of fill. So our outline is on top of our fill. I grab the outline layer and simply drag it up above fills. So now I have the outlines, I have fills, and I have my coloring page layer. These are the three layers that you need. I don't want pink outline, I want a black one. So in my outlines layer, I always have to make sure the right layer is selected. I'm going to lock this one so I don't accidentally select anything in fills. Select all outlines, and I'm going to change that color to black. And I'm going to lock it. And now in the fills layer where I have all these independent shapes that I created, now is the coloring part. I'm going to pick colors from my swatches and fill these shapes in. See how I can select any shape that I want. Okay, let's start with these three squares in the middle. Make sure your fill is showing. Fill. These are the default swatches, and I'm filling that in. I don't need to do every single one one at a time because some of these shapes might have the same color. So clicking the shape and holding down the Shift key allows you to select multiple shapes inside this fills layer. So this is also time consuming, but this is where you go in and colorize the fills layer until you get a coloring page, fills and colors that you're happy with. Again, giving us the three layers that are required for the assignment: coloring page, outlines, and fills. I hope this video helped. Thank you.